Welcome to the Newsa-Cast YouTube channel. These Red Smith Banquet throwbacks are exclusive interviews of sports legends, powerful media personalities, and influential coaches. You won't find these anywhere else. Subscribe below and enjoy.
All right, Newsa-Cast listeners, you are about to see the complete interview with Ron Dayne back in the 2011 Red Smith Sports Banquet. And yeah, Badger fans, Wisconsinites, we know Ron Dayne. 96 to 99, he was a beast. He won the Heisman in 99, played 8 seasons with the Giants. He was an absolute stud for the Badgers.
Yeah, absolutely, Tosh. He was one of those first guys, Barry Alvarez era. He's just number 33 power running back.
Yeah.
We were surprised to learn he 8 years in the NFL. That's not a bad career.
That's not a bad career. And he was, when we say he was a beast, he was 5'10", 249.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Just a raging ball of hate coming at you.
He was. He would just dominate. And that's, those years, the Badgers had some pretty incredible offensive lines as well.
And they still do. That's
do.
one thing, right? You can count on the Badger offensive line.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a stud. I think you're going to enjoy his speech at the Red Smith Sports Banquet in 2011. And remember, this is part of the podcast with Appleton's own Eric Eastman. So if you want to go back to where you get your podcasts, check out the interview with Eric Eastman. You'll definitely enjoy it.
Thank you, Chuck. Just like I wrote it. Perfect. Thank you. Thank you very much. Well, what a great time to be a sports fan in this state. We've had a lot of years of where we can say that. So much going on at every level. I know there might be some of you going to Chicago this weekend. If you're looking for something to do on Sunday, the Wisconsin basketball team plays Northwestern in Evanston on Sunday. So there's something going on a couple hours later, but just in case you're looking for something to do on Sunday, certainly good luck, the best of luck to the Packers, to the Brewers, to everybody, and congratulations to all the award winners here tonight. It's a thrill for me to be sitting at the head table with a couple of broadcasters whose work I've admired for a long time. Greg Gumbel at CBS, ESPN prior to that, and Dennis Krause here in the state of Wisconsin. I tell you, though, I'm never going to accuse myself of being very good, but I will say I've been really lucky to be around the Wisconsin program and watching the growth of football and basketball and all the sports. And I'm about as lucky a broadcaster as there is in America to have had a great seat to watch the greatest running back in the history of major college football do his thing. And before we bring up the Red Smith Award winner, feel free. Go ahead. Your 2011 Red Smith Award winner, Ron Dayne. After your great career at Wisconsin and obviously a number of years, very good years in the National Football League, you've been back in the state now for a couple of years. What's it been like for you getting reacquainted with all the fans who cheered you on as a Badger?
Well, it's been great. Just being able to be back in Wisconsin where, everybody, it feels like I was still in school. I go back and I see everybody and they're just like, Ron Dayne, you should be playing. I'm like, well, that was 11, 12 years ago. But, it's just great to be back. My kids are out here in Wisconsin. They're good at sports, so that kind of takes away from me not playing football. So my boys play football, and I kind of use that to tease them. My oldest son says I cheated in college because I was bigger than everybody.
I'll never forget Barry Alvarez when he recruited Ron. I was talking to him one day. He was really excited. He says, Matt, I got a 260-pound running back. He's going to be a Badger. I said, you're that excited over a fullback? He said, no, he's a tailback, a 260-pound tailback. And that's what separated Wisconsin from the other schools because, Ron, you were recruited by a lot of other schools, but not necessarily as a tailback, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I was recruited. The Florida teams, like Florida State, Miami, they all wanted me for fullback, You know, I was big. I never played fullback, so, you know, I kind of felt weird about the situation. But the only other team that really wanted me as running back was Michigan State. And I know. So, but out of all the schools, you know, when I came to Wisconsin, that was my first visit. And I visited Wisconsin, and it was I committed, you know, on that my first visit. So my uncle told me to compare other teams. Sorry, my phone is going off, but I dropped it in some water earlier before I got here, so I can't stop it. So I'm sorry.
True story.
Yeah.
We were witnesses. True story.
But yeah, I went to Ohio State on a visit, and I went to Ohio State on a visit, and while I was there on the visit, 6 running backs committed. So I said, well, I know I'm not going here. I didn't even go meet the coach at the time. So the only other school that I visited was Tennessee, because my cousin went to school down there, and it was a party. So we went to have fun. So, yeah.
There was a fair amount of hype. Badger fans heard a lot about you early, Ron, before you even set foot on the field for the first time. But your freshman year, you didn't start for the first few games. I'm just curious, was that frustrating for you? And if it was, what got you through that period?
Well, my first year in, I had it was Carl McCullough. He was a 1,000-yard rusher. He was in front of me. Aaron Stecker was in front of me. Charles Williams, and then it was me and Eddie Faulkner. You know, so I was 4th, 5th out of the running backs, and you know, we didn't play 2 or 3 games, and I'm just getting upset. I'm like, I get in at the end of the games, I get 8, 10 carries, and I get 70 yards and a touchdown. I'm like, I can't start, you know. So I'm just calling home. I'm venting at home. I'm calling back, and I'm going back and forth. So we get to like the 4th game, 5th game. I'm like, I'm done. You know, I call my uncle. I'm like, call Michigan State. I want to go see Michigan State. So he was like, nah, just give it one more week. You know, just give it one more week. I'm like, all right. So I give it one more week, and that week, Carl happens to get hurt. We played Penn State, and then from there, I kind of took it from him. But the thing about Carl, he was a great guy. We're still cool, and we still talk and, you know, interact now. So, you know, I didn't know none of the plays because I was the 4th, 5th string running back. You know? So, you know, I was telling a story earlier about, you know, somebody was talking about Cecil, and Cecil is a great guy. Cecil, if you ever met Cecil Martin, he's a great guy. He's a great talker. He's always talk. You kind of got to stop him, you know. So we're in the huddle, and I'm like, all right, what's the play? He was like, all right, it's a run play, you know. And every time I had to ask what the play was, because I was so used to doing other teams' offense, you know, going against our number 1 defense. So I'm in the huddle. Cecil's in the 3-point stance, and he's pointing which way I got to go, and what down it's on. So he's like, this is between his legs the whole time, you know. So it's like, all right, well, I know I'm going over here. I'm getting the ball. So, you know, but he helped me out a lot. So it was just great.
Now that's teamwork. That is teamwork. Ron, let's fast forward to your senior year. The Badgers win their first 2 games and then lose their next 2 at Cincinnati and at home against Michigan. So you're sitting 2-2, and people are kind of wondering. There was a fair amount of expectations, a lot of hype. This was a team that was trying to win back-to-back Rose Bowls. But you know how the media gets sometimes? Sports Illustrated, at one point, at the halfway point of the season, had its, you know, best of, worst of, and they had Ron as the biggest disappointment in the first half of the college football season. How do you handle that when you get criticized on a stage like that?
Well, the thing about the ESPN people that when they came in, was it Sports Illustrated?
Sports Illustrated, yep.
So when Sports Illustrated came in, it was like, oh, we're going to take these great pictures. We want to make sure you're doing this. You're scoring a touchdown. You're running the ball. You're following your linemen. So I'm like, all right, that's great. You know, it's a great time. I'm like, yeah. So, you know, our 4th week, after we had lost 2 in a row, or we lost 1 and then lost 1 after that one. But all the pictures was like sad pictures. I'm like, I don't remember taking none of these pictures, like my head down. You know, I'm like, well, when did y'all get these pictures? You know what I'm saying? So I kind of put them up in my locker, and, I used those for motivation to, go out and play hard. We had a great team. Like Matt said, we had our goals that season was to win the Rose Bowl, win the Big Ten, not the Rose Bowl, win the Big Ten, break the record, and win the Heisman. So we completed all those goals, and that was great. So, when I talk about my Heisman and things, people are like, how you feel about it? I'm like, it's a team goal. So I think anybody on my team could come talk about it because that was a team goal. So, and that was our thing. So.
The week, for those who were in particularly if you lived in the Madison area, the week that led up to the Iowa game, when Ron broke the record, there was hype unlike maybe anything we've seen until this past season when Ohio State came in as the number 1 ranked team. But Ron, that week for you, it had to be, I would think must have been crazy. All the interview requests and all of that. What was that like for you that week going into the Iowa game?
Well, it was crazy for me, but the funny part about it for me was that all the starters were going through the same thing. I thought it was only me, so I'm sitting there like, man, I got to go to this interview. I'm going to do this. I got to go take these pictures. I got to go meet this person. I got to do that. And I'm walking by everybody, just seeing, starters on our team. We had Mackey, all my linemen, and, the Brooks and guys like that. They were just walking by. So I'm like, what's wrong with y'all? I'm leaving meetings like, I'm tired. I got to go to another meeting. And I'm seeing them. I didn't realize that everybody was going through the same thing that I was going through. I thought it was just me. So, it just made it that much better after the fact. But, I didn't realize that everybody was going through the same thing, even the coaches. So that's what made it that much better after the game for me.
The day of the game, it was almost like the planets aligned. It's November 13th, middle of November. Bright sunny day, about 70 degrees. The way it always is in November in Wisconsin. You have a rival, down as it was. Brett Bielema, by the way, was an assistant on the Iowa staff in 1999. He loves to be reminded of that, by the way. And Wisconsin wins in a rout, and Ron breaks the record. You saw the clip on a run that featured everything: his speed, his ability to shake loose, get away from traffic, his power, all in one play. Ron, when you broke the record, describe for those of us who can only dream of that moment. What was it like to finally, the year-long chase was over, you made it, the record was yours?
Well, before I broke the record, there was a couple problems going on that people didn't know. First, our fullback Chad Coons was like, if you break the record, I better be in. So I'm like, all right, no matter what, I'll tell Coach, call this play when Chad is in. But then I wasn't, and the biggest thing that made me upset and the worst part, throughout the game, I wasn't the leading rusher throughout the game. Brooks Bonser was the leading rusher. So coaches coming to, we're getting the plays, and Brooks are calling them. I'm like, man, you're not going to figure. You're getting ready to run. I'm looking at him. We getting ready to argue and fight. I just stopped looking at him. I'm like, man, he had 90 yards in the first quarter. So I'm like, wow, I only need 123, So, but that was the biggest thing. We were kind of going through it in the huddles, and I'm kind of not listening. I'm like, man, it's another pass play. It's a play action. You're getting ready to run. I'm like, So when I broke it, it was just great. Chad came in. He was in the game. Chad got in. He was like, man, we're going to break it on this one. I was like, yeah, I know this is a good play because it isolated him on the fullback or on the linebacker. So it only had to make a DB miss. So it was that much easier on that play that, when I got in. And I kind of got cursed out by Chris Chambers because I ran him over on that play. And he still talks about that to this day. So
that is true. I can vouch for that. A couple of more here for you, Ron. We have a lot of young athletes, very accomplished already, but a lot of young athletes in this room. Just wondering, I'm sure you get asked a lot for advice. What's the best piece of advice you could give a young athlete right now who aspires maybe to be the next Ron Dayne or the next Jeff Cirillo, whatever the case may be? If there's someone that he or she idolizes, what's the best advice you could give?
Well, for me, I would have to say schools first. You can't get nowhere without an education. So I'll have to say, school. And hearing some of those the GPAs up here, I'm talking to the guys, 3.85, 3.6. I'm like, wow, man, I'd have loved to sit by you in school.
And on that note, go ahead.
I just want to say schools first, and that's what I push for my kids too. And my daughter, she's 13, and she's a straight A student, and she's a great athlete. And my son he was more like me, like hate to go to school, and I don't want to, but I have to do it if I'm gonna play sports. So he's good in school too. So it'd have been nice to have some of y'all as friends with the 3.5 GPA.
Really, Ron, real quick, one more, and then we will move on. But you and I had heard a lot about this event. This is the first time we've been here at the Red Smith Banquet, and I can tell you it's everything we've been told it would be and more. And you've won a lot of awards, but I have the feeling this one's pretty special to you, isn't it?
Well, yeah, definitely. Especially when it's for kids and not even kids. They're getting ready to be adults, going into the next stage of their life. So, I definitely appreciate this award, and it's a great award to have. I didn't know anything about it. People were telling me about it, so I kind of looked it up, and I'm on here with Greg Gumbel, so I can't go. That's a big one for me, too.
Ron, congratulations. Red Smith Award winner, Ron Dayne.
Please subscribe to this channel, give this video a thumbs up, and hit that notification bell so you get notified when we post another great episode or interview. Download the podcast on Apple Podcast, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you for your support.